Many people ask me who they are. In my videos, I refer often to they as beings in the illusion, or I refer to them as the controllers of humanity. Who are they? Well, the way, and I've spoken about this in many videos previously, the they I speak of are the beings that are suppressing and controlling humanity through the toxic food system, the medical system, and the prison society. The way, when you step back enough and you get to the center of the circle enough, well, look at that, my handy dandy circle. When you get to the center of the circle enough, you start to regain true common sense, right? Which is seeing it all. See, our controllers are the beings who have been around countless millions, if not billions of years, who have been controlling the dominant populations of planets for countless, probably millions and billions of years. This is not their first rodeo. You think this is just all happening, that they are controlling humanity through the food systems and medical systems, right? And the entertainment systems, things like this. When you step back in the center of the circle enough, we start to regain our true common sense, and we kind of see these things. And you come to these conclusions yourselves. When we empty the mind, reconstitute the mind, and allow space for deeper understanding, we can start to see some of these things. And the goal of our controllers, is to suppress our consciousness through the toxic food system and create a self-limiting society, a self-destructive society through the programming they use to program us to eat self-destructing foods and to also stimulate us. They want us stuck in the sea of stimulation, aggravation, and information. They constantly stimulate us, and when you're stimulated, you are thinking. You think, which food also stimulates. And when you're thinking, you think you're somebody. You think you're somebody doing something, and you think you know, and you think you're in control. And when you think you're in control, that is the cause of all suffering. It keeps us trapped in the cycles of suffering, which keeps us trapped in the illusion. This all starts with thinking and stimulation. So the goal of our controllers, is to keep us in these cycles of suffering, these self-destructive, self-limiting cycles. It makes us easier to control. When we're thinking, we'll get to that in a second, it makes us easier to control. And they are feeding off us energetically by keeping us in these lower, ignorant states. So how do we escape this? Presence and purification. But first, let's talk about what happens when we think we know. This makes us easier to control. And when we think we know. So it only occurs when we're thinking, which is why we have to facilitate a state of peace and get to presence. Stop thinking, because thinking keeps us trapped in these games, in the illusion, right? Here's the center of the circle. In the center of the circle, you know you don't know. In the center of the circle, you are the observer. You are detached. You are not thinking, right? That's the center of the circle. But what happens in the sea of stimulation is it gets us thinking we're somebody doing something, and gets us thinking we're in control, and gets us thinking we know. So this is not thinking. But as soon as we start thinking from the sea of simulation, stimulating us into the cycles of thought, we think we're somebody doing something, and we think we know. And when we think we know, we are trapped in these lower, limiting perspectives. It creates separation from the whole, because we're attached, we're identifying with the ego, the actor. And when we think we know, we can only see from this perspective. Right? When we're in the center of the circle and we know we don't know, and we're the observer, and we're the divine, we're God, we're the cosmic beloved acting through us, center of the circle, not thinking, detached, we know we don't know, we see it all. And this is how we regain true common sense. When we think we're somebody and we think we know, and we have these lower limiting perspectives, bye-bye common sense. We don't have true common sense. We're controlled. We're trapped in the illusion. Because you can't have any attachments or biases to have true common sense. You have to just observe it all with no attachments or biases. Because when we think we know, we can't see the truth. When you're in the center of the circle, you see it all. When you think you know, you only can see from where you think you know from that perspective. But what if what you think you know was a lie? you'll never see the truth, and you'll be easy to control. This is how they control humanity. They stimulate and create our ego selves to get us caught in the cycles of thought, which makes us think we're somebody, which makes us think we know, and we get caught in these lower perspectives, and we're easier to control. We're easier to keep ignorant. So how do we get out of these lower limiting, trapping perspectives? Presence and purification. That gets us to the center of the circle. Stay in the center of the circle and allow all things to take their course. Become the observer, detached, thoughtless. So presence and purification. This is how we escape the controllers I speak of. And this is just from my perspective as I've gained deeper understandings and emptied my mind and allowed these things, these perspectives to come to me. I encourage you to do your own work. Empty your mind, facilitate a state of peace, purify the vessel, practice presence, right? And see what perspectives and conclusions that come to you through deeper understanding. I'm explaining it to you from my perspective that universe is so old that obviously these advanced beings could easily control a planet through the toxic food system, the medical system, the entertainment system, right? The prison society. They specifically structure and build these societies in maximum effort to keep us suppressed because they can't control an unsuppressed people, a truly consciously free people. They could not control because a consciously free people would not allow things like politics. They would not allow it. You would not allow someone to tell you and to try to control you like that. So you have to keep us suppressed to feed off of us energetically, right? And to control us. But we can break free from this. We can break free from this illusion and this getting caught in these cycles of suffering. Why are we caught in the cycles of suffering? It's because we think we're in control. And when in all suffering assumes control. Because we think we're in control and either something that happened or something's going to happen. We think we're going to have some outcome on it. Like we're in control. We're making a decision. We're not. There is no control. Control is an illusion that only exists in the thinking mind. See, this is how they keep us caught through the sea of stimulation, aggravation, and information. So one of the most important things we can do to facilitate presence is purification, remove the physical aggravators, removing the aggravators, and presence facilitating a state of peace, removing any other aggravators we can, because everything's an aggravator. Going out and driving, seeing all the signs and the stores and the foods and everything, it's all stimulation and aggravation. And information in your phone, you overload yourself with all these things and they aggravate it, make it harder to stay present. When presence is the number one devotion to God and the most important thing, because every second we're present, we dissolve the ego, which is holding us in these lower limiting perspectives, and move toward the center of the circle, which gives us back true common sense, which allows us to see the truth on things like diet. Because diet is the hardest thing to see from the highest perspective because it is our deepest, most substantial programming, purposefully to keep us suppressed and create a self-limiting, destructive population, which is what they've done. Look at the population. Almost everybody ends up eating themselves to death with the aid of the medical pharmaceutical system, right? That's basically how it works. Nobody up in hospitals is eating all fruit or all raw vegetables. It's all the opposite. And this is a hard program to break. I'm still working on it. After 5 or 6 years, it's still a struggle for me. Why is it such a struggle for me to change my diet? And some people, it's so easy. The perspective I've gained, which I talked about in my last video, is sometimes you got to get knocked around to gain the deepest understanding of something. Is you got to spend the most time in it as a conscious being. Spending the most time in these different difficult perspectives as a conscious being allows you to gain deeper and deeper understanding of them, which allows you to become a better teacher of them. And the more you teach, I learn as I go, I teach as I learn, and I learn as I teach. So it's a compounding effect. Right? So this is why we sometimes get stuck on these perspectives as a conscious being, because you are gaining such a deep understanding. Look at the world. The world, the main suppressor of humanity is the toxic food system. So I've been shown constant perspective changes in this system to gain the deepest understanding of how it affects humanity and how we can escape it through purification and presence. And we need presence to help with purification, because purification can be very difficult when you're overstimulated, aggravated, too much information. You got to empty that mind, empty the mind bucket, and create space for calm, for presence, and for deeper understanding from the divine. So, as far as who is they and who are the controllers in the illusion, as I talk about. But again, really, when we keep stepping back far enough, none of that matters, because we're not even supposed to be thinking about it, right? Center of the circle. You're just observing it all, even the what we would see as negative in the ego arena, right? It's all just part of it. We're just the observer. No matter what happens, it's all just chemistry and conditioning. Whoever they are, their chemistry and conditioning and part of the illusion. God is in control. That is it. No one else is in control. Everybody just thinks they're in control. There is no control. We are just chemistry and conditioning. Nature running off. So as far as being caught in the illusion, thinking we know, this is all created. These controllable lower perspectives are created by what? The thinking mind, by stimulation, food, entertainment, X, Y, and Z, materialism, buying things like this. This is all stimulating. So facilitating a state of peace, so important. Meditation, walking out in nature, exercise, taking care of the physical vessel as much as possible. I'm trying to exercise, walk more. Make it a priority to take care of your body. Self-care. Make self-care number one. This is what also helps balance, because the more we take care of ourselves, the more we're going to be in a better state mentally as well, and spiritually and physically, to create more presence, which is the goal. So presence and purification. Part of purification is physical purification, moving the body as they're designed to be moved. They're designed to be moved to keep them healthy. Making sure we try to incorporate, it's like some yoga, some stretching, some exercise, some running, some walking. Walking, is one of the best forms of exercise. And we're remembering that these beings these vessels that we have are meant to move. You know what I mean? Well, there's meditation, of course, but we're meant to move for the most part, not to sit all day. I try to stand as much as possible, to move as much as possible during the day. Get that sunshine, get the bare feet on the earth, things like this. This is all part of purification. And opening ourselves to true common sense so we can see what purification really is. It's eating the raw fruits and vegetables, mostly fruits, that are given to us from our beloved. No preparation required. And this is hard. This can be hard. This can be a hard thing to wrap our heads around unless we have true common sense. Because as long as we're attached to something, we're gonna be like, no, I still need to eat this. This diet's the right one because I'm still attached to this thing. Well, it's hard. So that's who they are. That's who the controllers are. Presence and purification, facilitating a state of peace, right? Reconstituting and emptying the mind. Always come back into presence when we're struggling, when we're out of balance. That's always what it is. Make presence a priority. All right, I need to meditate more. I've been missing too many meditations, right? I need to really start meditating at bedtime or when I get up, right? Trying to make self-care in every aspect of your being number one. In the morning if you can, and or throughout the day. I honestly, anytime. I sneak in all kinds of exercise throughout the day as I have a few minutes here or there. And in the evening time, especially, right? And then throughout the day, practicing presence and through presence, that'll help your purification as much as you can. Thank you for joining me, my beautiful friends. I try to keep this relatively short. I know I can kind of go on forever. I have to kind of remember. All right, let's try to sum it up. Will you, fella? Sum it up. Thank you for joining me. May our cosmic beloved grant us peace, patience, presence, and understanding. I am God's eternal love pouring forth. Namaste.